Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm just honestly sitting here trying to figure out who's going to be bad enough to tank for Victor, because I'm trying to run my mind through the teams that I think are going to struggle or who could potentially struggle. And honestly, nothing's really definitive, to be honest with you, right at this point. Obviously, you're looking at Utah, San Antonio, and Indiana as the teams that are probably going to look to not really do too much this year. OKC is in that mix, Houston possibly, but those teams, the problem with those two is they have really good young cores. So at this point, yeah, you could see them not doing well, but are they going to do bad enough to give them the highest percentage chance of getting that lottery? I don't necessarily knowing that. I don't necessarily know that. So that's really where I'm at with it. I'm sitting here trying to figure out who would be the best candidate for that. And my mind starts racing into different situations where teams are basically shallow after their stars. They don't really have much of a bench. Those teams, if they catch an early injury, that could actually be the team that you look at. For example, San Antonio back in the day, and I've mentioned this several times recently, but San Antonio had David Robinson go down the year that Tim Duncan was drafted early in the season. And I remember distinctively San Antonio started the season, if I'm not mistaken, very well, if not undefeated. And it was maybe within like the first 3 weeks of the season, David Robinson went down with a season-ending injury. And at that point, they just, they turned a corner toward tanking. I think they made a natural organizational decision to just stop winning. I think that's what happened. They knew Tim Duncan was looming, and that injury just happened to fall in their lap. I think that's how that went, but I was too young to honestly know. But at that point, it just became as clear as day that they were going to be the worst team in the league, and that Tim Duncan was in fact going to be likely to fall in their lap, and that's exactly what happened. I think something like that is possible. I think you can see Victor Wembanyama on a team that doesn't expect to be that bad, but if they don't build their bench properly, one early injury could send them tumbling down the standings. A team like my Lakers is the one team that I think about, even though obviously we don't have our own picks, so there's not going to be no opportunity for that. But I picture a situation where if for some reason we don't get Kyrie Irving and one of our two stars goes down early, we could tumble. We could completely tumble. We have a nice team, but we're not built at this point for that type of thing. So that's a concern. You look at certain other teams that just don't have their bench, and it's kind of tricky right now because you don't really see teams complete at this point. I mean, free agency has just begun, and of course, although a lot of players are off the board, some game changers are still there, and of course the big trades have yet to happen, which we think could shake up the NBA quite a bit. So when you consider that, and you look at teams like Orlando, and again OKC, Houston, these are young teams, so they could very easily just not play well. Sacramento, even though we're excited about Murray, they're a team that's had a lot of ineptitude over the years. A team like New York, even though they just sprayed Jalen Brunson, you could see a world where they don't get off to a very good start and kind of maybe find themselves as a 30-win team or something like that if things go wrong. Like, it's possible, you know what I mean? You don't expect it, but I think the NBA has done a good job of making it so that the worst team is not necessarily the highest percentage chance, has the highest percentage chance rather of getting, winning that lottery. I think they've done a fantastic job of kind of smoothing that out, and so it could be a team that is in that tier of, yeah, we're kind of bad, but we're not that bad, that actually wins the lottery. And I think that's much more encouraging than what we've seen in the past, where teams just completely bottom out just in hopes of getting it. And a lot of times it doesn't work out. I remember a year where the Lakers, for example, just I was screaming for us to tank, and we were just refusing to. Julius Randle was going out there balling. He was like, we don't believe in a tank. We're not doing that. And it worked out in our favor. We ended up getting the second pick in the draft, even though we were legitimately trying to win games. So, it was a pleasure to see us ultimately have that type of result from actually competing. You know what I mean? So that's what I want to see. But then you see other teams in situations where, they're going all in and they don't necessarily get to pick. A team like the New York Knicks deliberately, sitting guys and things of that nature just so they can get a chance at Zion Williamson, only to find themselves with, the third pick or whatever it was that year. It doesn't always work out. So all in all, I think teams should just let their young players run it out and let the chips fall where they may in some cases. But that's not realistic, especially with a player like Victor coming along. You're not going to see that. What you're going to see is teams sit people. You're going to see teams, prolong injuries, and things of that nature. And it's going to be a weird year because of it. I think you're going to see teams midway through the season change their entire tune depending on how their performance is going. If for some reason they're not off to a good start or what have you, you're going to start seeing them sit their players and things of that nature so they can increase their chance of having that pick be the best one. Now, here's something that's concerning me. The Lakers, I don't know if this really applies to us at this point. I know we don't have our picks, so obviously it would, just redundantly speaking, but we could find ourselves being a situation where you end up having the worst, odds or what have you, or the best odds in your case, and end up giving a team like the what's the name of this team? The Pelicans. Victor Wembanyama, because you didn't necessarily do your part in playing well enough, and now you win the lottery some unfortunate way. So that type of thing, I think, would be very fun to see. To be completely honest with you, to see Victor Wembanyama go to a team like Philadelphia or something because they happen to have the team's, pick or something of that nature. That is something I would love to see. And it wouldn't be the first time we've seen something like that. If I'm not mistaken, James Worthy, this is before my time, but I think James Worthy came to the Lakers that way. He was the first overall pick, and we won the championship the year before that. So it does take place. The Pistons won the championship and then had, the third pick in the draft? I believe it was the third pick. And, of course, they didn't take Carmelo Anthony or Dwayne Wade. But, that's not the point. The point is, it's possible. These things happen. So I would love to see that happen again, especially with a talent like this. Him going to the wrong place could change the NBA for absolute ever. For absolute ever. You hear me? He goes to the Memphis Grizzlies, or he goes to the Thunder. Like I said, the Thunder is even though they're in position to actually tank for him, I think if they get him, it would be completely unfair, given the fact they have the type of length they already got on that team. You know what I mean? But let's say some, miraculous way he ends up with Milwaukee, you team him up with Giannis, oh my God. Or he goes to Golden State. Like, that's the type of thing I'm talking about, man. That's what I want to see happen for some horrible, horrible reason in my mind. Maybe I'm just cruel like that, but I do want to see Victor Wembanyama not go to some bad team. I don't want to see him in Utah. I don't want to see him in San Antonio. I want to see him next to Embiid. Like, I legitimately want to see him next to Kevin Durant. Like, that's the type of situation I want to see a generational talent happen to fall into, because that's just what it is. Like, when you have great talent, and I know people don't agree with this, but I'm with KD. I want to see perfect basketball. I legitimately want to see perfect basketball. I don't mind having a super duper team because I know you're going to see basketball at its highest level. You know what I mean? Now, if it's not built properly, then it becomes something that you don't like seeing. But if it's built like Golden State was built, or you're seeing basketball the way it was meant to be played, at its highest level up into this level of evolution, that is, it's about as good as it gets. And then from there, you see the game evolve, because now you have to find ways of guarding perfect basketball, which gives you new defenses. You create new ways. Now you're out there looking for these long players. You know what I mean? It's like that's how the game gets to its highest point, because you got to have a guy like Michael come along to give that guy Kobe Bryant that blueprint. And then you got that Kobe Bryant guy to give a guy like LeBron James that overwhelming determination. You know what I'm saying? And you got a guy like Giannis who's going to come after that, who's going to give you the type of energy that he brings to the game, and so on and so forth. So it's like, nah, let's not run from opportunities to see the best level of basketball. Let's not run from the Hall of Fame level. You know what I mean? That's my thing. Let's also give opportunities for us to see perfect basketball if it's possible. Don't be afraid to let him go back to Golden State. I mean, I know it's based on how things go. They would have to deplete their team, so I don't support that. But just in general, seeing KD next to Steph Curry or LeBron James next to Kyrie Irving, like, yeah, I want to see perfect basketball. I do. I would have loved to have seen Kobe Bryant play extra years with Shaq, or get a chance to see, more KG and Ray Allen and, Paul Pierce, like those, and Rajon Rondo. Like, that was perfect basketball. San Antonio Spurs. If we don't ever see those teams put together, how do we see this level? So, I don't want to see Victor land in some team that's not going to put together the best opportunity for him. I don't want to see that. I've seen that a million times. That doesn't work for me. I want to see them go somewhere where it's loaded, packed, and they ready to be a dynasty. They ready to take off and win championships out the gate. That's the type of situation I want to see the best of talent since LeBron James land on. I want to see him go to a good situation. Seriously. So that is just my personal opinion. I know that's not possible. That's not how the NBA works. The best talent goes to the worst team. That's fair. I get it. I just don't want that to happen with Victor. That's just my personal opinion. I want to see him in a good spot. So that's what I got to say, man. That's where all this took me. As far as what I think is going to get him, I never concluded anything, because at the end of the day, these teams aren't done. These teams aren't done. You can see a situation where a team makes a bad trade. If they make a bad trade, they get the wrong injury. Now they're going to be the team that's going to be in the best position. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. But right now, I would say Utah's in the best position to be as bad as humanly possible. But I'll tell you this. Keep an eye on whoever owns Brooklyn's pick. Keep an eye. Whoever that person is, keep an eye. Because if they trade away KD and Kyrie and they don't get the right return, and Ben Simmons isn't right, you could be looking at them as one of the worst teams in the league this upcoming season. My name is BDL44. I thank y'all for watching, and I'm out.